Make some noise. Baby, don't let me be misunderstood. But it feels so good. Get along, can you? Now I know it's true. Naughty girls need love too.
Yeah, there's something funny going on. That's weird.
Trying to take all of my money this month. All of it.
It's like one of those cartoons where you're looking at Rufus and are like, dog turns into hot dog. Delicious.
Or the dog could become a cam dog.
Helen.
Really? Rufus is gonna have his own OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think he'd be very successful.
We just lost Dana. Oh my God, you're bringing
We just lost Dana.
Wait, did the mic die? Oh my God, we're having all
It
sorts of
destroyed
issues.
her.
I'm getting a little bit of a.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Aha.
Hold on, just one second.
I mean,
That's fine.
They're just gonna have to get used to me yelling. That's fine.
I'm a joke.
You're going to be yelling about Jeff Goldblum, so I'm sure they'll appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I know.
The thoughts in this movie have like grown exponentially since we actually watched
can't
it
wait.
Saturday.
I'm fascinated to hear what you guys thought of this one. Like,
Wait, hold on.
I have no idea which way this is going to go.
No. Did we even start with it?
Nope, not
No,
really.
Because we're
There's-
all dicking
we're
around. I'm sorry.
recording, but we're
We've
just
been
talking
dicking
about
around.
bullshit.
We've been dicking around.
Okay.
Speaking of dicking around, Randall.
Yeah, speaking of dicking around, welcome to You're No Fun Anymore, the podcast where we deal with our nostalgia. I'm Randall.
I'm Dana.
I'm Bryce.
I'm Alexandra, and I'm dicking around. No, I'm Helen.
That's
I'm
going to
Helen.
be your new name.
Hang on to that joke.
I'm Helen. I'm Helen. I'm Helen.
Yes. And today we are being visited by 1988's Earth Girls Are Easy, or How Geena Was My Valley.
Oh,
Um,
that was
No?
good.
Did that one
I
not
liked
work? What about Eternal Blondness of the Valley Girl Mine?
That one.
No, I
yeah.
liked
Yeah.
the first one.
Oh,
Extraterrestrials Prefer Blondes?
Ooh, I like that
Oh,
one.
yes. Oh, that's good.
You got it in 3.
Yeah.
Got it in 3.
3 words.
I'm going to show you something that's going to totally change your life completely forever.
She's a brunette from Southern California. And he's not.
I need romance. I need surprises. A UFO landed in my pool. They captured me. I fed them Pop-Tarts, but you've got to cut their hair. What did you say?
They may be from outer space,
So? They could still be dates. I think we could just make them look more sort of human.
Hey, come on, everybody. We're doing a makeover.
but underneath, they're more than human.
Wow, they're incredible. We may not even be, anatomically correct for each other. That could be a real problem. No problem.
I could fix you up with some birdacious chicks just like that.
I can't believe you're printing an alien in front of all these people. I'm going home with him.
Are we limp and hard to manage?
Wait a minute, are you coming on to me?
Her boyfriend's a doctor whose treatment is totally alienating.
Here comes Dr. Love.
And her new love's an alien who's more than accommodating.
Do you own your own home or do you rent?
Geena Davis, Julie Brown, and Jeff Goldblum in a film directed by Julian Temple and produced by Tony Garnett.
I just don't want you to think Earth Girls are easy.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
Content warning. This selected film may contain scenes depicting the following: sexual coercion, rampant titillation, brief nudity, innuendo, mild language, extraterrestrial violence, ableist humor, repeated nonsensical musical interludes, implied gun violence, frequent size disparity, unexplained Death Race 2000 car cameos, and smoking. And now, back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
This has always been a personal favorite of mine since I was very little.
Me too.
Really?
Of course, because it's a musical. It's musical sci-fi. Like, it's right up your alley,
It
Dana.
is bonkers cartoon musical sci-fi.
And it's Julie Brown, who I love with all my heart.
Julie Brown,
Julie Brown
I
is
love,
the
and I
best.
forgot how much I loved her when I was a kid.
Yeah.
The only part of this movie that I remembered before watching it was the last scene where she's like, "No, I love you. I'm going to come with you." Spoiler, everyone.
I
think that's kind of funny that you only remember that.
I used to watch the I'm a Blonde video on MTV.
Totally.
On repeat. I was obsessed
Totally.
with it. So I knew that before I knew the movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I probably saw pieces of the movie for years until I was a little bit older, but I
This
love
movie-
Julie Brown so much. I used to follow
Yeah.
her career constantly.
Although for a second I was like, at the beginning was like, downtown Julie Brown? No.
I said the
No.
same exact
Miss
thing.
Julie Brown. Miss
No,
Julie
no.
Brown.
To
They
this
had
day,
to-
very confusing though. Both MTV.
They were both on
know.
MTV. She had a show for a while. She started using the name Miss Julie Brown
Miss Julie
to
Brown.
differentiate herself from the VJ Downtown Julie Brown.
Yeah.
And there's an
Yeah.
episode of Drag Race where they actually have Julie Brown and downtown Julie
Oh,
Brown.
that's good.
amazing.
And that's going to be Dana's neck tattoo, like commemorating that.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe. All right.
This movie weirdly was inextricable in my mind with Howard the Duck. Weirdly. I
Interesting.
don't know why. I don't know if I
Okay.
watched them as like double features as a kid or something.
Same level of camp.
Yeah, definitely some camp.
Definitely
some
campy, definitely
sci-fi
like, you know, a little
weirdness.
not raunchy, but like, you know, sex obsessed.
I have
Mhm.
a take
Yeah.
on this. This movie has huge bisexual energy to me. Like
Totally.
everybody
totally.
of both genders is like very attractive and very like
Fluid.
naked all the time. And it seems queer without being actually queer.
Yeah.
there's
Julie
some
Brown is like a step away from drag queen.
Yeah, like totally. The whole
Woman
movie had
hate.
like, this is a weird disaster buy movie to me in my head now.
what was her first album or was it her second album? The one that broke out was Trapped in the Body of a White Girl.
Mhm.
Yeah. She's always kind of had that energy. But yeah, this is a little confusing because so I just went again, this is one of those movies that was released and then released, but it went through a lot of production hell. So we're just gonna go with the year 1988.
Right.
So let's back that up.
Back that ass up, Randall.
Back that ass up. The year is 1988. Debbie Gibson is officially recognized.
Debbie was my girl.
Yeah,
Yay,
she
Debbie.
is officially recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the youngest artist ever to have written, produced, and performed a #1 Billboard single. That was Foolish Beat. She recorded at 16, that peaked at 17. She was still in high school.
I had an entire Debbie Gibson outfit.
Of course.
Of
course you did.
So that's what you did in high school.
Yeah. Did you
Okay.
wear it to your bat mitzvah?
I was 9. I was 9. Thank you very much.
Oh, speaking of 1989, did everybody see the New Kids on the Block video that they released?
A new
Salt
one?
and Peppa and Vogue and
Oh,
Rick
no.
Astley. It's
Oh,
fantastic.
wow.
Watch it
Nope.
right now. Like not right now because we're recording a podcast, but watch it immediately after this podcast.
I will be doing that.
Okay. Steffi Graf becomes the first person ever to achieve what would be called the Golden Slam, winning the Australian, French, US Opens, and Wimbledon, as well as taking gold at the Olympics all in one year.
Go
That is
Steffi Graf.
truly an
She's great.
insane feat. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
According to the famed Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, where Pluto was discovered, 13% of Americans surveyed actually believe the moon was made of cheese.
Thought the moon was made of cheese.
13 whole percent.
Actual
Yeah.
people? I bet you it's I bet you, yeah. Not
Well,
cheese
according
people?
to no, not cheese people. Cosmo earns themselves a huge amount of backlash when they publish a horribly misleading article titled "Reassuring News About AIDS." A doctor tells why you may not be at risk.
Oh.
The article would go on to claim that women had, quote, almost no danger of contracting AIDS through
Oh.
ordinary sexual intercourse. Yeah. Immediately, this was denounced by medical authorities and AIDS activists. Because this is 88, there really was no excuse at this point. The magazine doubled down at this point. The head editor at the time and famed second wave author Helen Gurley Brown went on Ted Koppel's Nightline saying she was quite comfortable releasing this very obviously false information. It was so false that the Surgeon General, C. Edward Koop, singled this article out at a hearing shortly after this was published. Yeah, it's pretty inexcusable. There is actually a really great short documentary called Doctors, Liars, and Women. AIDS activists say no to Cosmo. That was at MoMA for a long time, but it came out like it just documented the incredible backlash of this, and it was the first, I believe, direct action by the Women's Committee of ACT UP. Yeah, the first large-scale push to curb alcohol-related traffic fatalities begins with the launch of Harvard Alcohol Project, a massive nationwide campaign to import the social concept of a designated driver from Scandinavian countries to Americans via mass media communication. So they coordinated all major studios and 3 networks They had drunk driving prevention and references to designated drivers that would be used in more than 160 primetime television programs, such as Cheers, Dallas, LA Law, as well as films and constantly running PSAs. This remains to date one of the most effective cooperative social efforts, lowering alcohol-related traffic fatalities by over 30% in just 6 years. It's kind of weird to think about a world that didn't have designated drivers in the United States, but here we are. And Broadway, of course, sees the opening of Andrew Lloyd Webber's unstoppable musical smash hit, The Phantom of the Opera, which had already been an incredible success across the pond. And it would set the record for the longest running show in Broadway history, a record that will not likely be broken anytime soon, as by 2020, it surpassed over 13,000 performances and is still going strong. And speaking of freaky looking creeper dudes with boundary issues, still somehow getting the girl in the end.
Nice.
Welcome to Earth Girls Are Easy. This debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival. It was actually really well received. It was September 8th, 1988. Audiences really liked it. There was a lot of people that were interested in theatrically distributing it. It ended up being distributed by Vestron Pictures, which most famously known for Dirty Dancing. But theatrical release was delayed until May of 89 due to some legal issues, and then really only to 300 screens. So while it did actually receive some positive reviews, Roger Ebert saying, quote, "The movie's sense of fun is infectious and saves the material when it starts to sag." He also called it silly and predictable and as permanent as a feather in the wind, but I had fun watching it. It only managed to reach 12th place. And overall, in its short theatrical lifespan, just made 3.9 million out of its 10 million budget. So this was not a successful venture at all, but did find a home on repeat and cable. And Fox used to play this thing called Night at the Movies. And Julie Brown had mentioned that it kind of achieved cult status in an interview she did in the 2000s. Based on the fact that it would just play overnight all the time.
I feel like this was a movie that was meant to have cult status. I don't think it was ever
and it's meant for like late night viewing. I definitely remember seeing this as a late night on TV airing.
Yeah, most definitely.
Followed by Howard the Duck, probably.
Actually, that's very good possibility that
That's
you saw.
actually, I think
very
it genuinely
likely.
was.
There's weird, creepy alien sex stuff in both of those. So yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I think because I don't remember this, but I
because
remember
it kind of like the scenes kind of interchange in my mind.
Right.
I always associate this one with Amazon Women on the Moon, which I think is just because the two titles are so silly. But it's also a very similar like camp. I think there were just a lot of those movies in the 80s that you completely disposable, but very silly and for some reason.
I've never actually seen Howard the Duck, and I don't feel a compelling reason to change that anytime soon.
Well, we'll probably get there.
I feel like I've watched it.
What's her
Like,
name?
what kind of bottom of the barrel scraping are we doing to have to watch and talk about Howard the Duck?
Hey, I have
It's
very
not bottom
fond
of the barrel.
childhood
Come on,
memories.
this is like classic
Marvel.
comic book. This was Marvel before the MCU. Okay,
All I
Bryce?
remember about it is
Do you find Howard the Duck attractive? Is that what this is coming out about?
He does have a Steve Buscemi vibe to him.
He does not have a Steve Buscemi vibe.
Oh no,
He's a
no,
total
he is
perv.
Chubbier.
I know this is an interesting film because at this point, Geena Davis and Jeff Goldblum, I believe, were dating at the time they were shooting this. They met on Transylvania 65000, maybe. Which
Have
was
they
a couple
already
years-
done? When was The Fly?
The Fly was before this in
Right.
86 or
Gotcha.
yeah. This started shooting in 87. So I think that, they might have already been married at that point.
I think they were probably already married
Yeah.
and adorable.
Yeah.
It still weirds me out because I always think of them as like they have such very similar facial structure
Yeah.
and features.
They're tall and
they're very
angular
tall.
and like, yeah.
They're really
They should be
adorable.
siblings. But they are actually really, really adorable. I went on a whole
They're
rabbit
so
hole
cute.
looking at them back in the 80s and I was like, oh, you guys are cute.
They were already married.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, they were. Yeah.
1987.
Yeah. They were shooting at the, I believe, the fall of 87. Yeah. So she had already done Beetlejuice. Accidental Tourist is probably already coming
She had
out.
done Beetlejuice? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
she'd already
I thought
shot
Beetlejuice was
Beetlejuice.
after
No,
this.
Beetlejuice was
No,
way
Beetlejuice is this year. This is a huge year for Geena Davis because it's Accidental Tourist where she wins the Oscar next year. It's Beetlejuice, which was like a huge hit. And then, well, not necessarily this movie, but but I still think it's fun.
It's so fun. It is
she's
super
obviously-
fun.
We enjoyed it. I mean,
Yeah.
our mom was just like, "This isn't for me," and went to go wash dishes. But
At what
we
point was
loved-
that? When the sushi on the wall, or when they started singing?
It's
Maybe when they started singing,
when they
Randall. I
started
think you got and she usually loves musicals. Like
Yeah.
if music comes on, she's all for it. But I think it's so weird and
Yeah.
it's so like steeped in like American
Weirdness.
Americana, you know,
Yeah.
like it's got such a weird,
Angeline.
yeah, Los
It's got the
Angeles
Angelina
vibe.
100. Yeah.
I mean, it's got fucking Angeline in it, you know, from
Which was very fitting for us to watch this movie after
right after being in LA.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think one of the weirdest things about it is that even for a musical, to back this up, the director Julian Temple, most notably from at that point, it was the Great Rock and Roll Swindle. He'd done a lot of like punk stuff and music videos, and he still does like music docs. Like he's mostly a music director and a video director. Guy did stuff for like the Sex Pistols, Judas Priest, the Undertones, the Stray Cats, the Kinks, the Beat, Culture Club, Depeche Mode. Like he did stuff with the Rolling. I think he actually shot a movie with Mick Jagger when he was on vacation in Rio.
nice. Must be
And-
nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
so like
Rio.
it doesn't surprise me that this is a very, very strange musical, but some of the numbers are just so weird. Like they don't really click.
Oh no, it's real. What's the one where like Geena is singing to herself in the house as she's like destroying
Right
shit?
now.
Yeah, that's so the weird part is like so on the soundtrack, it's not her. It's one of the I can't
Yeah, it's
remember
not
the-
her.
Yeah, I think the only one that's actually singing is Julie Brown.
No, she sang and recorded. Like Geena Davis talked about this in an interview that she recorded it and they just told her, oh yeah, because she's a trained performer. She's like sang since like college. So they brought her in the studio to record that the song. Which song was that?
I don't remember what the song is, but I will always remember the bowling ball going into a
The TV.
CRT computer.
Wrecking ball. That one? No.
Oh, The Ground You Walk On.
Yes.
I used to worship the ground you walk on. So she recorded The Ground You Walk On, but when she went to see the movie, they'd remixed it, and you can kind of hear they're layering. Like I think there's another singer, or they're doing some kind of effect, but that's actually her because her performance is a lot stronger. Because if you listen to Jill Jones, who does the version of the song on the album, the soundtrack, it doesn't have anywhere near the like the same kind of like theatrics to it. So I think they were doing a little bit of marrying like one and the other when they were finishing it. But God, that number to me is just so crazy good.
Get it? I
one
enjoy that one.
Yeah, the one that throws me off is honestly the first one when they're in
Makeover
the
song?
Curl Up and Die, when they go Brand New Girl, because it's like it's not nearly as dynamic as the rest of it. It's like a lot of big wide shots, like a classical musical would be. Nobody's like really playing to camera except for like Julie Brown and Geena Davis.
Mhm.
But I did want to bring up the Dr. Love character.
Oh,
He's the worst.
let's talk about Charles Rock.
Charles Rocket, who played Dr. Ted Gallagher, Dr. Love, originally wasn't slated for that role. They gave that to Mike McKeon.
Oh,
And
really?
Mike McKeon was like, no, I'd much rather have fun being the stoner weirdo.
Yeah, that would have been different.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they swapped it because it's like also like Mike McKeon, even at that age, doesn't look nearly as like
Ew.
sexy as like Charles
Charles
Rocket
Rocket
did.
was like one of those guys that was great at playing the 80s sleazeball.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Mike McKeon like was tough imagining him as like a stoner surfer boy, because he just doesn't he just seem like older? He always seems older than he is. I know he was like
Yeah.
relatively young in this,
Oh, yeah.
but he just seemed like way too old for that.
I'm going to
role.
make you real sad. He was probably around our age when he made this.
Oh.
I would think he might have been younger than us, Dana, when he made this.
Laverne and Shirley in the 70s, he was in his
Oh,
20s.
sure. Yeah,
But
that's true.
that is also a type though, especially in California, the guy who is
Yeah, that's true.
The overage
surfer
surfer
dude?
guy.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
older burnout.
But I think he made a good
Yeah.
call. I think Charles Rocket was perfect for the sleazebag cheating
Oh,
doc.
he's a great actor. but
What?
it was the
Well, I'm
character.
kinda-
You
But
just wanna-
you're supposed to
not
hate
like
him.
him.
You're supposed to
not
hate
like
him.
him.
Yeah.
You're supposed to want her to find somebody else, which
You're
she does.
disappointed when she's like considering going back to him.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
You're.
Yeah.
Why would
he's
you
just
ever?
such a tool?
Why would
Yeah.
you ever?
I've seen this movie like literally
he's a
dozens
doctor?
and dozens of times. Every time that happens, when he's like, "Let's go to Vegas," and they forget that
Yeah.
Max in the back, and you
Aw.
see his poor face, and he's like, "Oh," and it's like, it just makes me go, "Oh."
Yeah.
What?
feel
But
bad for
I'm
him.
sorry. I understand that they had to like wax a lot of fur off of these aliens to make them look the way they did.
Yeah.
But regardless of the expense
Yeah, totally.
of hair removal that is involved going forward, why would you ever pick Dr. Love
Over.
over fucking Jeff Goldblum in the 80s?
Who's
He is
so
the hottest Jeff Goldblum.
beautiful. He's
So
so
beautiful.
All right. Well, it looks like we got to get into this. So yeah, Jeff Goldblum.
He's got like
Holy God.
he's got that like he's perfect.
the
Adonis face
Fly.
that is like
I will never be able to see him as anything other than the Fly,
Dana.
which makes the fact that you guys are attracted to him creep me out.
I
because
loved
fucking-
him in Jurassic Park.
Despite
I had a huge crush on him then.
despite the Fly, when he emerges from his like back room in that
oh
salon,
my god.
kind of
Well, I
like
mean, that's-
looking at you, like
that's definitely
with his
a throwback
chin
to
down,
Cronenberg,
like he's
too.
beckoning you, to
And his
follow him.
sultry voice. When
I
he
saw
talks.
the Fly accidentally when I was about 7, 8 years old.
He's pretty hot in that too.
I didn't mean to
I
see
see.
it, but I saw it and it has stuck with
Imprinted
me.
on you, yeah.
So there is no way I can see Jeff Goldblum as
Sorry,
sexy.
Dana.
Oh my god, he's so gorgeous.
As somebody who's never
Fly.
seen The Fly, I think I won out in this situation.
the
and I get to-
the clavicles on
Oh.
him, like the tan
V?
skin, the V,
Well-
everything is just perfect.
And like he's super fit in this, but he seems like real person fit.
Real person
Yes,
fit,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like he goes on a run every other day.
He runs and
but
maybe
he
has
still
like,
eats
lot
a
of-
donut.
But he like he'll have
I
pizza
just
with
love
you.
that he
Have a
learned how to
Mhm.
be sexy from watching Jerry Lewis.
The absent-minded professor.
Oh my god, you're
No,
so
it
right,
was,
Randall.
Nutty Professor. Yeah.
Because-
There's that whole scene where he just picks up all those mannerisms, and it's funny because like that's Jerry Lewis basically being like
Dean Martin.
yeah,
like he's being
like,
Dean Martin,
sleazy
right?
Dean Martin,
Yeah.
and that's what Jeff Goldblum was going for.
Not
So-
not Dean Martin, who's a much better like amalgam for Jeff Goldblum.
He's doing like a copy of a copy
Yes.
of like
But I feel like that's such a like of the period, like that's such a 80s pastiche thing. It's the kitsch
Mhm.
value, right? Like
Oh,
the whole kind
absolutely.
of like kitsch aesthetic is taking things like it's a copy of a it's not actually the original. It's like
Yeah.
what you think of nostalgically. I mean, for a podcast about nostalgia, it's like that whole kind of like filtering things through nostalgia and how you look at things
yeah.
with a weird affection, but not as they really were,
Yeah. I'm actually surprised at how I expected to like watching this with a little bit more of a critical sense. I was expecting this to be a lot worse than it ended up being.
It's not. I
Really?
know. I was very relieved.
Yeah.
Very relieved that it wasn't worse than it. I mean, the Dr. Love stuff was pretty bad. There was some stuff that Julie Brown herself was like reinforcing kind of like
I was
gender
waiting for you to get
stereotypes.
to it. I was
But it was so obviously like sticking to these
Here's
gender.
the funny part is that I forgot Julie Brown wrote this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So the first 15, 20 minutes of it, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, Helen and Bryce and Alex are going to hate this so much. There's so many boobs and so much.
I
don't hate boobs.
I love
think
boobs.
I
But it
think
was like
it's-
treating the women as sex objects, specifically Geena Davis. And then I remembered that Julie Brown wrote it.
Yeah.
But it's
And all
like
of a sudden,
it's
like,
like
Everybody's a sex object in it. Like everybody.
everybody.
is
That's the
thing is,
like-
everybody is young and beautiful. Fucking Jim Carrey is
I know.
hot in it.
I hate saying that Jim Carrey is hot.
And Damon Wayans before
Yeah.
in Living
Yeah,
Before
Color.
this
Living
is
Color?
this is
That's
yeah, this is
incredible.
I think this is the first time that they
Damon
were
Wayans is
acting together. Yeah.
Stunning. Damon Wayans' dance
Yeah.
scenes are
Oh,
incredible.
that was fantastic.
so fucking good.
Yeah.
I like. Why did Jim Carrey ever decide to be anything but a hot blonde guy?
Well, he was
Why
doing.
did he
I
do
mean,
Ace Ventura? He could have
No,
been like a
he
fucking
was
like J.
doing-
Crew model or something.
But come on, Ace
he
Ventura
was doing
was fun.
stand up at this point, I think. So this was kind of like right on that precipice of where he's going to go. Is he going to be
He
an
wasn't
actor? Or are you
pushing
gonna
it
do,
hard
like-
enough. You could kind of tell when he was doing the like weird Scandinavian inflected voice that if he like 5 years down the line, he would have pushed that to its ultimate.
It was Jim Carrey before he
extreme.
had the license to be Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was like reining himself back, but you could kind of get hints of the absolute craziness that could
When he
happen.
eats the live goldfish, I think that's kind of like, oh, that's Jim Carrey. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, when he's doing like the facial expressions,
Yes.
there's a lot of effects works.
the body, like the
mhm.
body humor.
The
I don't know.
whole like learning how to use the toilet was kind of
Yes.
hilarious. Also, why does Geena Davis have a so when they go into the house, she has the cat,
Yes.
and the litter box apparently is just like a wagon because the cat goes in the in the litter box, and then Jim Carrey goes over to try and go into the wagon, but it was like, why do you need a mobile like it just
That's a good point. I didn't even really consider
it
that.
freaked me out because I was looking at it. I was like, how many times have I seen this movie and never
I don't
noticed?
think it was for aesthetic
I
value.
think that's
Maybe.
the thing. Like her house was so weird. It was so
Yeah,
her house is
eclectic.
very
Like it was
good.
all
His
kind
house,
of.
technically.
No, it was hers.
He might have paid for it, but I feel like it was her
Yeah.
house. You know.
Because she
I know she
him-
kicks him out, but I kind of feel like it was one of those, well, you cheated on me, so I'm keeping your house, because she's a manicurist and he's a surgeon. And that was a very
He
nice
also
house.
I mean,
he
it's
also
the
said
80s.
it was his house at one point in the movie.
Yes,
And
yeah.
I didn't think there was anything in that house that was his besides the computer and the cologne.
She definitely designed
Like
it.
everything else in that house was hers.
Everything that she destroys in that house is his.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which was
So
the
that-
computer and the cologne, right?
And-
what else was there?
Well, the fish tank.
Yeah,
The
the
fish
thing.
tank.
Yeah, the aquarium.
Yeah,
That whole
I-
thing, she's destroying stuff.
That's true.
Yeah, I do love that the attention to detail where anytime they go back to the house, it's still got like
Still trashed.
random stuff and sushi on the wall. And
So weird.
I mean, I believe Bryce had said this when we were watching it, and I didn't notice this, but she's like, this is the longest 100 minutes that I've ever had to sit through. And I was like, I was having so much fun with it. But yeah, it does kind of lose a little bit of steam right when they're trying to get.
It's after the club.
After the club, it drags a little.
Yeah.
The club is so fun, and the like driving around LA, being like young and dumb in LA is so much fun.
Yeah, there was actually so on the DVD extras, there was an entire sequence that was to Julie Brown's song, the one about like I like 'em big and dumb.
I don't remember.
Well,
Put
it
in the
was
background,
playing.
right?
Yeah, they put it in the background, but when they're driving in the car, she does like a whole singing routine with the three guys in the back, Geena Davis driving up front, and then it's like another music video number. There's a lot of stuff that they ended up cutting out of it, which is always kind of unfortunate, but I think that it was because the middle of it just felt like such a weird kind of dip, but then the energy goes back up once the stakes are real and oh no, they're captured and you're going to find out that they're aliens and all this other fun stuff. But yeah, there's a little bit of a lull right at that midway point.
But then they sing I'm a Blonde and everything gets funny again.
Yeah, they shot that after the fact.
I know
because they had to add something.
They had to add something.
Because they're like, wait, how does it get from here to? It doesn't matter. You're on the beach now, so we're gonna do a song about
You're
the
on
beach.
the beach, and suddenly it's like beach blanket bingo. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
weird. I fucking love it. I genuinely
mean,
had like a good fun time watching it.
It was a definite kind of just let your mind erase during it.
Alex kept turning to me and she's like, "What the fuck is this movie?"
Not in a bad way. In just
that is for me. It's always been like, oh, this is just eye candy, and a lot of it is so bizarre and cartoony, and it does. It feels like a live action like
It
Looney
does
Tunes.
totally.
I was very excited to see
the fucking-
Angeline in it.
Angeline, Alex was like,
Oh,
"When does
yeah.
Angeline show up?" Did a decent job, for somebody whose entire life is based on a billboard.
Billboards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like even the like kind of side characters, like her weird beehive neighbor.
Oh
it's
yeah.
fun
the-
every time she shows up, like
When I like that they revisit it during the whole like
through the whole
freak out,
thing.
the
Yeah, through the
nightmare.
little cartoon.
And then you find out she's a painter.
So during the nightmare sequence was one of my absolute favorites. They like dress up certain parts of the other, she's got the alien thing on, and it's like there's a lot of like they live kind of things going on. They actually reuse some of the costumes from another one of my favorite Jeff Goldblum performances from Buckaroo Banzai. So some of the aliens are actually the aliens from that. That's a nice little homage. Robbie the Robot. I think this is the last time he appeared in film in the 20th century. I think they dug him out of retirement only recently, but I think this is the last movie that Robbie the Robot was officially like in a film. in that sequence is just so again, I don't know how you get away with that.
It also,
I mean,
how do
how do you get the whole point of it is that like it's like a weird nightmare after alien sex
Alien
endorphins?
sex.
Like what?
Right.
The scene where she like fistful of like birth control pills.
Alien sex PCP something,
Yeah.
you know, like Angel.
Oh no,
does,
he
that
does
he,
that
like,
with the touch.
the
Like,
touch,
he's
right?
the
Gotcha.
absolute. That's my favorite. So
Reiki.
there's
Yeah.
a couple like other sequences that they cut out of the film that kind of help that a little bit. So one of them is they go to the drive-through and Geena Davis is trying to reach for the like the food and the takeout, and Jeff Goldblum's arm turns into like Elastic Man and just like stretches and grabs the food and then brings it back. And then as it brushes by Julie Brown, she gets that euphoria, like the oh my god. And then they look at each other and like, wait, you can just do that with any touch? And then he's like, yeah, that's what I do. And so then they get the wide eyes. But I get why they cut it is because it steps on the joke when they're in the club
with the cops.
Yeah.
With not only the cops, but when they're in the club and the tongue shoots out of Jim Carrey's, like he grabs the the cherry in the glass, and then all the girls are like, I'm gonna take him home.
That is a great joke. That is a great joke.
There's a lot of really fun things in this. And again, I was actually surprised for considering how sex focused this movie is. It is surprisingly like PG. I mean, it is rated
totally.
PG.
Yeah.
No overt nudity. There's not even really swearing. It's
There's
just
innuendo, but it
Oh, yeah.
never.
You see a lot of skin, but you
Yeah.
don't see like enough skin to make
Yeah.
it racy.
Yeah.
It's like
Really.
titillating. That's
Yeah,
like
it's
the
titillating.
whole thing is like silly titillation.
Yeah. You know what it is? And I'm now remembering where like I saw this. I think maybe one of the first times. USA Up All Night.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, basic
Air on
cable,
USA
baby.
Up All Night all the time.
USA Up
Mhm.
All Night is when I watch this 100%. And this is that total vibe.
Yeah. Oh god, I cannot tell you how many times I'm sitting around running around because I'm a blonde. Yeah.
We would have been really tight in high school, Randall.
I would do that whole thing with the bit. It's like, oh, let me remember.
Because I'm a blonde B-L-O-N. I don't know.
She just did the whole song spelling it perfectly.
Let me do my audition. Wait, what was it? Oh, Duck Magnum. She's just like jiggling everywhere.
They used to show that on like the Sunday morning Nickelodeon channel kid shows, that video.
Mhm.
I remember
Yeah.
watching that. So it had to have been relatively innocent.
It's totally. It's that like I said, it's that perfect fodder for when you're like a preteen or early teen, where you know what sex is, but you don't actually have it. It hasn't like creeped
Yeah.
over your brain and made you obsessed with it.
You know what I think it is with this one? It's that I think this one has a kind of nostalgia that we haven't really talked about yet, which is it's a nostalgia for the time period.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think any of us cares that much about this movie that it's making us like have major emotions about watching it when we were that age.
Totally.
But it does bring us right back to that time
Totally.
period.
That first outfit that Geena Davis walks into the salon in with, what was it, like jean short, like cuffed jean shorts and like
Yeah.
suspenders and
Yeah.
so
And
freaking cute.
the
like it's such a
sandals
cute
with the little-
outfit.
Her hair, her
Flared.
outfits, the whole
Oh,
time.
that blonde
was like-
wig was awful though.
No, I loved her as
Okay.
a blonde.
I
think
liked her as the blonde too.
I just the whole shag.
It was like
and
a proto Rachel haircut, which
Yeah,
I didn't
with
like.
fringe.
Yeah, I definitely like the curls better. I like the whole kind of like, oh my god, her jean jacket with all the buttons on the lapels. Alex was like, that must be the heaviest jacket ever.
I do that to my jean jackets when I was
Everybody did.
Yeah, it is such a wonderful little like
Time capsule.
and I think this goes again back to the lot of credit for this film goes to production designer and set decoration, and that's Dennis Gassner and Nancy Hay, who are Oscar winners, by the way.
They deserve it. That apartment, like the work they
Yeah.
put into that fucking apartment
Yeah.
is so incredible. It
It
makes
was-
it's such a microcosm of her personality. You can tell what kind of person she is just from the space she lives in, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And again, like the details that go into just shooting something like that, but the fact that they went out of their way to make everything so kitschy
Yeah.
and so 80s and just like making almost fun of themselves. Oh yeah.
Not as
I
so
forgot.
80s as it was the 80s when they were doing it.
Yeah. I mean, this is late 80s, so they'd already kind of, I mean, it's like the end of everything. You kind of, you know how to like exaggerate it to a point where
That's fair.
it
I
is
feel
of its
like a
own.
lot of stuff more recently, at least, doesn't. I mean, maybe it's just because we're in the moment we're in,
Yeah.
but doesn't try and be too stuck to a specific time.
No, I think it wants to stay timeless,
I've
actually.
actually,
Yeah.
I think since 2000, I think it's
Yeah.
really hard to identify in the way that we did in the 1900s.
I know.
In the late 20th
In the
century.
late 20th century. Yeah.
I always think of We Didn't Start the Fire, the video, the way that Billy Joel has in the video, he has everybody dressed up like the time period.
Yeah.
And it's very clear up until like through the 90s that each of those is a very distinct period, but you can't do that now because once we hit the 2000s,
yeah, you can. It's
I'm the same way. I don't think I could look at like early 2000s, like juicy.
Oh,
I
you
think
get
that's
club
the whole
wear.
thing, a little
Yeah.
more genuine now. Like they don't necessarily do the same thing where it's like over the top trying to be that time period anymore.
Right.
You know?
This is what like the Back to the Future effect is, where it's like nobody actually looked or dressed like that in the 50s, but it gives enough of a pastiche where you're like, yeah, that tracks. I think this film inadvertently became an 80s timeless classic by
It's a time
hyping up
capsule.
all the most ridiculous shit of the 80s to play up that Valley Girl thing, you know?
That's
And-
true.
Yeah.
I mean, the Valley
and-
Girl kind of like aesthetic is a very specific, localized
Mhm.
thing.
I think it's like there's movie 80s, which I think this represents beautifully. And then there's like regular 80s that like when I watch Stranger Things.
Yeah.
You see Stranger Things and it feels like the real 80s.
Yeah, the
'cause
real
that's-
80s was brown. Everything was brown.
Yep, it was brown and kind of unattractive.
We had a brown
If you-
station wagon.
Yeah, I mean, I
with
think,
wood
but
paneling.
also I think that's if you were in like the eastern or midwestern part of the United States. If you were in California, I think it was a little more colorful.
Maybe.
Fair. Oh yeah, I forgot. Nancy Hay. This is her first film.
wow.
Yeah, that she ended up doing a set decoration for.
Great job, Nancy. Well
Yeah.
done.
I mean, she would go on to, again, like I said, she won Oscar for Bugsy and again for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She did Hudsucker Proxy. She did Barton
Wow.
Fink. She did The Grifters, one of my personal favorites. AI, Road to Perdition,
Wow.
Mars Attacks, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah, lots of
Mars
stuff.
Attacks is another kind of like in the 90s trying to create this kitschy
Like 50s.
sci-fi,
Yeah.
but not as good. I feel
No,
like
I
it
feel
didn't
like
quite
Mars
achieve
Attacks was
what it.
super underrated.
Mars Attacks kind of it fails a little bit in a way that this one doesn't because Mars Attacks it's fun, but I don't think it's as repeatably watchable.
I feel like
it's-
aliens always
It's because
freak me
it's
out.
cynical. It's very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
cynical.
like this is so earnest.
It's got that
and-
90s irony to it that like this does not have this is genuine.
Yeah, this like this, I believe they're making a comment, like the way that the script plays out and the way that the
Totally.
film plays out, they're making a commentary about the roles of women
Yeah.
and the way that they're presented in media. And
Totally.
but it's done so heartfelt that there's no wink to the camera. It's just
It's not
true.
removed.
That's
It's not like it's
Yeah.
sitting on high and judging you from above, you know?
That's why I used to love Julie Brown so much, although I
Yeah.
couldn't have articulated it like that when she was
Yeah.
big. But like I remember distinctly when she used to do these satire specials where she played Tanya Harding,
Yes.
she
Mhm.
played Lorena Bobbitt.
Yep.
And I bet, and not that I'm sure they're on YouTube or something, but you can if you go back and watch them, they're probably more of a commentary on those situations than
Yeah.
Yeah.
you would see for another 20 years after that when everybody started revisiting all those stories. I think she was
Yep.
doing that then.
Yeah.
Mhm. And she talked about this. So there was a stage production that Julie Brown was helping to basically make a musical version of this. Never really got that far. I think it only went to like a table reading.
Oh God, it should. This would be great on stage.
It'd be really good on
I
stage.
think it
Audience
would be interesting.
participation would be phenomenal.
Oh, so yeah, get this.
Throw sushi at the wall.
This is like 2001. They did a reading of it, and there were several readings of it. But this is so Julie Brown came back to reprise her role. Kristen Chenoweth was the lead in this
Oh my god.
as
She would be
Valerie.
so good.
Yeah, and then Mark Kudich was Ted, Dr. Love.
Yeah.
Hunter Foster was Mac. Yeah, it's so weird that
I would have paid to
you
see
know,
that.
yeah, they only got through a couple readings of it, which is unfortunately, but like there's a lot of people that I think would have totally paid money to see that if it did get off the ground.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
even the
man.
sci-fi portion of it, like this is a sci-fi musical, right? Even
Mhm.
the sci-fi portion of it is like fluffy and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The spaceship they show up on is like a toy. Like it
Oh,
looks
it's
completely
Literally a
ridiculous.
toy,
Like,
yeah.
And I like the
it's not
shrinking
trying
aspect
to
of
be. They shrink and they grow, and like everything is this. It almost looks like those coin operated rides outside
Oh
of a,
yeah, like the little
in
like,
front of
kitty
a
rides.
supermarket that you kind of like jump on
Very
as a kid.
plastic.
Very plastic. They're furry aliens. They're not scary aliens.
I think that's, this just hit me, but I think it's because it was a woman.
It was a woman.
It's driven by a woman. So all of a sudden you have this feminine view of aliens,
Sci-fi, totally.
which is more cute and accessible and adorable.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the reason why they kept the ship that small is because they needed it to fit in the pool and they already had the location. So they just made up like
I totally agree, Randall.
they had to make
that-
up like a shrinking.
But I just love that kind of practicality was turned into this whimsical.
Oh yeah, it's super funny.
You know, like it's a toy ship, and they kind of like have to shrink to fit into it. I think it's
but only
kind
just
of,
like a little bit.
just a little bit, like
like 3/4.
1 to yeah, exactly 1 to 5 scale or something.
So yeah, there was an interview that she wrote when they were talking about the stage production of this, and she had talked about like, you know, when you have perspective now, you can incorporate a lot of this, but that was what she was doing. So I think she's very, very aware of like when she was writing this, because she tried for a long time to get this off the ground, which is pretty impressive for a first outing. Yeah, it's a little clunky at parts, but some of these jokes are still like, they're still work, man.
Yeah, funny. And Geena Davis's performance is like
she was
so kind of
electric.
like wide-eyed and
All I kept thinking about the whole time was Geena Davis is a Mensa level genius.
I know,
Yeah.
she's so
so
fucking
good.
smart.
Played this dumb when she is that smart is just beautiful.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And she's so like genuinely like innocent.
Right.
Even what she goes
Even
through.
when she literally falls into the lap of his lover,
Yeah.
she is still like thinking the best of things at first. She's like, "Oh, you're here as a friend," you know,
Just very
like
Pollyanna.
being very sweet.
Yeah, that part is so
and
sweet.
and then it clicks a little late, but it clicks. And she's still very sweet about it too. And Jeff
Oh,
Goldblum's
man.
sweet too.
Jeff
Like,
Goldblum is a
Yeah.
sweetheart.
This is again, I think the reason why this to me still is like enjoyable
Fun.
is because everybody is so sincere
yeah.
in the way that they're performing. Like
And
no
there's
one's
also, it's the only alien movie I can think of where nobody tries to like turn in the aliens or dissect the aliens
Right.
or
Well,
view the alien.
I mean,
the
you-
bad guy.
The Dr. Love.
They were
is, like,
arrested,
doing
but not
this-
because they were aliens.
Well, right. You get a full like hour of the movie with people doing nothing but accepting that these aliens are just a bunch of good guys that have come to Earth for some fun,
Yep.
which it's also unique to the alien sci-fi genre. I think that's part of the reason that I love it so much, because it's just, there's nothing about it that isn't cuddly.
yeah, like
Yep.
even when they are completely hairless, they're still cuddly.
I like their furry selves too, though. Not in a furry way. Just like, you know, I just thought I liked the
We
colors.
get
of them.
every episode, we get a new reveal
like-
of like
I like their furry selves. I did not like those weird cod pieces they were
The
wearing.
weird cod pieces were weird.
And
wait,
I
what?
definitely like their outfits better when they were defurred.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, freaking Jim Carrey's sweater. That was a great sweater, guys. I want that
The
sweater.
giant baggy one.
Oh, it's really good. And it was very bold and primary colors. I loved it.
Oh, I'm so burned out on like the baggy.
Did they
Oh,
not
word.
kind of remind you of Thundercats when they were
Yeah.
aliens?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah, I could see that.
Thundercats crossed with My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
it's
they
very
were
like
really
primary colors.
Stupid aliens.
Well, I mean, actually, we think they're stupid because they didn't understand us at first.
Yeah.
Well, no,
But
no.
Bryce, how earth-centric of you. They are
They're not
interstellar
adaptable.
travelers.
Okay, but
they
they're not
did gather
adaptable
all
at
our
all.
information. At least Jeff Goldblum
They were
gathered
they were
everything
able to absorb and assimilate pop culture
within a day.
in a day. But sure, yeah.
I'm just going to stop this for a
What's
second
up,
because
aliens?
you know they crash landed their plane because they saw boobies.
Yeah.
They're not very
No,
smart.
but sometimes you get distracted.
And also, dudes, this is what I mean. How
I'm with Bryce. They may not have been the brightest bulbs on their planet.
No, there was a reason they were shunted off to like the Earth galaxy.
Okay.
Like they're not.
Speaking of other planet, so here was my problem. This is the one problem I had with the plot was
Okay.
why do they leave? They clearly can breathe on Earth.
Right.
We don't know if Geena Davis can breathe where they live.
But if they can breathe on Earth, she could probably, it's probably reciprocal.
Yeah.
Unless just like they can take in all our information in a day, they can make their bodies adapt in a day.
Well, but also, is Jeff Goldblum alien going to keep shaving himself, or does she have to like learn to
Grow
live
some
her
fur?
life as a furry?
Or
I
does
mean,
alien space make you that way?
it could. I mean, you have no
Yeah.
idea how long they were
True.
trapped out
Solar
there.
rays.
You might
on
turn
Resident
into a
Alien, on Resident Alien, that one of the characters gets one of the little orbs from the spaceship, and he starts growing hair all over.
Way to spoil that for me, Alex.
Sorry, it's a real key plot point. It's not key.
Not a big spoiler.
What is
Haven't started the
Fine,
second
when he-
seasons
when he
yet. Now I
screams,
don't
he's
even
like-
know why I'm going to bother.
what does he scream? Is something like "I have unstoppable NTV scum" or something like that?
I was thinking about, there's another movie that this one reminds me of, except it's way not as good.
Hmm.
That's not grammar, but there was a movie around the same time that was called Doing Time on Planet Earth.
Oh my God. Yes, Dana.
Oh,
I
I
don't
do
know this
remember
movie.
that.
Oh my God.
I mean,
This is the most
surprised.
random movie on the
Are we
planet.
surprised?
This is not a movie that everybody should know about, but the entire point of the movie is everybody around this kid is talking about the B-52s and B-52 and bingo and B-52 and all of these other ways. And I didn't know what the movie was the first time I saw it, but I just watched it because I was waiting for the B-52s to show up, which they do. And then you find out they're aliens, and this kid is the leader of an alien race on the planet B-52. Very similar movie. That definitely reminds me of this.
Yeah.
Every
Oh
time
my
I watch
God.
it.
That's so funny. I have trouble finding comparisons to this, other than like other wacky, bizarre.
There aren't really.
Yeah. I mean, even for a musical, this doesn't follow a lot of the trappings of a musical.
No.
I mean, it's not like Rocky Horror is more musical than this. You know,
It's more cohesive than this. I
Yeah,
think that's why
I struggle to even call this a musical.
it's a movie with music.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's a
music
movie
with
with music because
videos.
the music doesn't really drive forward any
The
plot
story.
like you would find in
yeah.
I think the
So
reason that I associate it with Amazon Women on the Moon is because it's the same kind of like, it has a semblance of a plot, but really it's just a bunch of like loosely connected vignettes
Yeah.
that are very cute. And that I think that's why I associate those two movies, because it's very similar, like camp. You would watch this at 2:00 in the morning,
Right.
You were
USA.
really into aliens around this time, huh?
Were, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Great.
peak NASA.
Yeah, well, this is also like, because around this time you get like Starman, you get there's
Right
a lot
after
of
Star
like
Wars and ET and
mhm,
Well,
yeah.
so this is another one of our movies where when you step back and watch it, you're like, yes, everything took place within 2 days.
Mhm.
And that's crazy. And like when we watched Three Musketeers, you're like, yes, everything took place within like 4 days. And that's crazy. What is with our nostalgic desire to compress time into ridiculous pockets?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it is. We're talking about a 2-hour screening of something.
Yeah.
If it took the span of 20 years and condensed it into 2 hours, I think that would be even weirder. Like the fact that it's like
I mean,
2 eventful days put onto film for 2 hours is not
I
that
think
weird.
also it requires the characters to have a level of growth if it's more than a
yeah,
super
totally. Like
I
you're
mean-
not asking for too much of an arc.
I
Right.
would absolutely, no matter how hot the Jeff Goldblum alien was, I would have a lot of trouble deciding to leave my entire planet to step into the unknown after a mere like 48
right.
hours.
Leave
As
Did you
my
not
entire
see that
planet.
sex scene?
My guess would be that Geena Davis probably hooked up with Dr. Love, probably moved in with him after like a week of dating. That would be my
Oh,
guess.
100%. Yeah.
So this is basically just her moving into his spaceship.
Also, she might still be having residual contact high from
Like
the
afterglow.
contact.
Mhm.
What's going to be a real bummer is when she realizes that the alien was her rebound and now she's in space and can't get home.
No, because
Space.
that's Mac's gift to her though. He does the touch to both Dr. Love and Valerie, but it doesn't work. With
Doesn't work on
Valerie.
her.
And
Yeah.
she's like, no, because she's actually in love.
I
And was like,
know. What
"Aw."
if Dr. Love then falls in love with a cat?
With a cat,
mean-
and it's like, oh, please don't do what I
Don't
think
do
you
it.
could
Leave the
with
cat alone.
My
Leave the cat alone.
question about this race of aliens is what happens to the one poor impotent alien
Mm,
who like
Who
can't
doesn't
get his
have the-
touch, his zap going?
doesn't have the power.
So sad.
I don't know. Maybe that's the one who's actually ruling the planet, and they sends all the other ones out. you know?
Right.
Yeah, what exactly are they doing? Are they like observing? What is their
Getting
purpose?
Space laid.
Space
My
Lid.
guess is that they weren't supposed to be going to Earth at all.
No,
Yeah.
they weren't. It was a detour because their onboard porn broke down, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were supposed, like, whatever they were supposed to be doing, I don't think it had anything to do with our planet. They just
Yeah.
showed up there because they crash landed and
I
figured,
know,
"What the
but I
hell?"
want to know what they were doing. This is
Yeah.
the sci-fi geek in me that is
And-
like rearing its ugly
Why
head.
was
I'm like,
Mac
what was their
in-
purpose? Were they are they explorers? Are they
This
Well,
isn't an
Mac was
episode of Star
in,
Trek.
in like suspended animation, so clearly they had
long
he had
term
a more important mission.
mission? Exactly.
He's just throwing away to like
They were looking for a planet to populate with, and luckily they landed on Earth where there's plenty of people to populate. So what's going to happen is that Geena Davis is going to go back, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, they all look like her," and then they're going to come back, and they're
You know
just
what?
gonna bang the entire.
That's it,
planet.
Dana.
guys. That bikini was unreal. So
That
I
bikini was unreal. That
unreal.
bikini was painted on and it was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the outfits that Geena Davis was wearing are just like, holy God, that's great.
He had a body. To
Yeah.
go with that mental.
Sure did.
I mean, she started
Which is-
as a mom.
It's not fair.
Which is-
like it's
Which
not.
is why when Dr. Love is like, I'm not attracted to her, I'm like, what is wrong with you?
right.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
you want a
that
short,
scene, by the
stubby
way.
blonde instead? What are you thinking? No offense to the short, stubby blondes of the group.
That scene, by the way, when they're in the gym, has a special guest appearance from Frank Burns of MASH fame. Larry Linville. Yeah, Larry Linville is he doesn't have any lines in it because I think they cut him out, but his name is Dr. Bob. But as Dr. Love starts going like, I don't know, I'm just not interested. I'm getting in with all these other nurses, and it's just like, wait, why is Frank Burns in here?
Yeah. I have a hot take, friends. I don't think
Mhm.
Dr. Love's a very good doctor.
No, probably not.
I don't think he
He
is.
seems a little distracted.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think he's a Harvard
He
grad.
does not focus on patient care as much as he
Here's the
should.
thing, though, in the 80s, if you were an attractive white guy, you could go into a hospital, wear scrubs, and everybody just assumed you were a doctor.
Yeah, I'm not
So-
even sure Dr. Love has a medical license.
No, he just looked pretty good in scrubs.
You know what? Dr. Love, like 20 years later, had a podcast based off of him called like Dirty Dr. Love.
Yeah, Dr. Death.
God.
Called, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer because Charles Rocket is dead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
He is.
he
I
did-
was
he
gonna
did
say
pass away.
it's actually like I wanted to say
We're not talking about the actor. We're talking about the character.
talking about the character,
Yeah.
much beloved.
the
The
actor,
much beloved.
R.A.P.
I did have to also mention, because this is also, since it is a musical, because it's not, they did lift a lot of stuff from Julie Brown's albums to kind of stick into here. I also just love the fact that Chaz Jankel is in this. He did stuff for Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, but one of my favorite songs off the Real Genius soundtrack is also, he did that.
Real genius. Nice.
Yeah, another one of those like just solidly 80s. Yeah, just great movie. The song was called Number One by Chaz Jankel. Also, the gentleman I did want to bring up, who is listed as the composer, Mal Rogers, and this guy, you know, he worked with like Madonna, David Bowie, INXS, Duran Duran, Diana Ross, like all of that kind of stuff. And it really comes out in some of this when they're trying to play up, you know, since it's such a very music video kind of vibe to it, it's really good to get like a producer like this who just had those connections. Oddly enough, I think it was also because when they originally were pitching this, they wanted Madonna as the lead for this.
Sure.
And
See that?
yeah, Julie
Madonna
Brown-
is the Geena Davis role.
yeah.
It would have been a
'Cause you
different
gotta-
take.
Well,
Hmm.
you got to remember when this was also coming out, this was probably right after Desperately Seeking Susan.
Yeah, that was
Um,
86, 87.
Yeah.
couple years.
She's a hot commodity now, starting to get into acting. This
This
totally
is
would
right
have been a
around
different.
Blonde Ambition, or like right before Blonde Ambition.
Yeah. But she outright turned it down, which is why in the music video part where Geena Davis is like in the little negligee, she throws him a ton of album in the fireplace. Other people considered for this role, they went to a lot of people. Justine Bateman, Molly Ringwald, Elizabeth Shue, Daryl Hannah. They all turned it down.
Daryl Hannah would have been good.
Elizabeth
Hannah
Shue
would-
would have been
Elizabeth
good.
Shue would have been good too.
Deborah Winger was also apparently on that list as
Deborah
well.
Winger would have been good.
Deborah Winger. What? Come on.
Deborah Winger is a little too serious for something like this.
Yeah. So when this was originally at Warner Brothers, before it got basically ousted out of pre-production, they were gonna have this be John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
No.
Yeah, the alien, and then Valerie. But Dino De Laurentiis, axed the idea after. Because this is like I think Two of a Kind came out right around the mid 80s, and it basically sucked any kind of power that those two had. I mean, with Olivia Newton-John, it was the 1-2 punch of Xanadu and then Two of a Kind.
Oh, Randall's favorite movie, R.I.P.
I love Xanadu. Actually, you know what? Apt comparison.
It is an apt.
True, very good. Yeah.
As far as like pure camp and what the fuck is
True. Yeah. What is happening right now? Are those roller skates? What is happening?
Yeah. I remember I took a friend of mine and I didn't explain anything to him. And it was at Chelsea Theaters. Hedda Lettuce was hosting it.
Nice.
And it was spectacular. And just remember looking over at him when things would happen. And at one point, I think he broke his brain when we were watching it. And it goes into the Don Bluth animated part. And he puts his head in his hand and goes, "Oh my God." And I was like, yes, just let it wash over you. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Earth Girls Are Easy.
I would watch Xanadu though.
Yeah, Xanadu is a lot of fun.
We can't. Randall, like it would just be 2 hours of Randall.
I will tell you, it does
gushing, and
not
there would be no
hold up
alternate
as far as a
opinions
critical
allowed.
eye.
I went to a club once and they had Xanadu playing on the walls.
Fuck yeah.
Like
absolutely.
That's fun. It was really fun.
Also, this was also the cinematic debut appearance of one of the Buffy villains, Jenny Calendar. That was actress Robia Scott.
Where?
Okay, Jenny Calendar is not a villain, really.
Well, she turns into the one, doesn't she?
No.
At the end of the second season?
No.
Spoiler. No, I'm kidding.
But she
Okay, also the one isn't part of the second season. What the actual fuck, Randall?
Whatever.
season. She was second season, but she has one episode. Oh, the
But the
possession.
one isn't the villain in the second season.
But that's
Right.
also she's possessed for one episode, half an episode, by Giles' old demon, and then she gets better, so it's fine. She's not a bad guy.
Okay. But yeah, that was she was in the Curl Up and Die big musical number.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
It's kind of fun.
is that pre-Prince?
No, that would have been right around the time Prince's albums were kind of good. Because yeah, she was a dancer for them for a while, wasn't she?
Mhm.
Yeah. Which again, that's probably another connection to like Nile Rodgers and all that other stuff. There's a lot of musical connections to this. Go figure. Well,
Is it still fun? Yes, it's still fun.
Super
I
fun,
think
but
it
I don't think you
is.
can remake this. Like
You
I
can't remake it.
I think you could do it as a stage
I
show.
think you could do it as a stage show.
oh, absolutely.
I think you could redo it as a
Absolutely.
drag show.
But I don't think Broadway. I think this would have to stay like New World stages off Broadway.
Oh, off Broadway. Yeah, I'll take it. I mean,
Be a
hell,
stage show.
speaking of
a
Xanadu, they
drag
made
show.
Xanadu into a stage show, and it lasted pretty well. I actually did enjoy
I was
that.
about to say,
I
yeah,
did enjoy that
it
one.
actually held up better as a stage show.
Yeah. But again, that one is because they are where Xanadu did not benefit from being so sincere. This one definitely does.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah.
when the stage show came out about Xanadu, they were definitely, it was
Self-referential.
self-referential and deprecating, and they were having a lot of fun with it, as opposed to I don't think you would have the ability to make this bonkers movie. You would have to keep it as like a show.
Yeah,
Where
because
people could
it's date rapey without like the earnestness.
Yeah, he does kind of there's some boundary issues.
I
that-
don't. Are we talking about Mac? Because like when he sees her going back to Dr. Love, he backs off and he's like, "Okay, I guess I'm flying back
Right,
to
but
my
the
planet."
initial-
Their sex scene in the first place is without their like earnestness would be read as very date
little
rapey.
pressury.
Little magic-y, I'm gonna roofie you with my
Right.
Kind of
sex
roofie her.
magic.
He did kind of touch roofie her.
Yeah, and it wasn't no, he didn't actually touch her until no, because I don't think she actually ever does. She just kind of says, "I don't want you to think Earth Girls Are Easy," and then he goes, "What is easy?" And then she says this, and then they kiss.
Sure.
And so I guess that's a yes, but that's not a very enthusiastic yes. I think afterwards that was a very enthusiastic yes.
Yeah, well, after he presumably used his sex finger magic alien stuff on her.
I mean,
That's an innuendo though, because I mean,
in your endo.
Well done, Bryce. Well done.
Huzzah! I did have a little bit of question with like, there's a little bit of like the playing up of the queerness of, oh, isn't it funny we're gonna make the two cops make out?
Yeah, but that was very 80s.
Yeah, but considering like that's your gay joke, that was pretty mild.
Well, plus they're instantly portrayed as like this nice.
I was happy couple.
Established couple. Like they seem happier for it.
Yeah.
Julie Brown's audience was, I'd say, 95% gay men. So it was 100% catering to the gay men.
Yeah,
like they were a very comfortable couple immediately.
Because they immediately started talking about like where they were gonna go and like,
it was like brunch talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have downloaded the GIF of Jeff Goldblum saying good, and that is now like a little bit of porn on my phone that I'm keeping for myself.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, it's hard to not. Oh man, now I'm thinking about it, like his whole emergence, because both that and The Fly, he has the same thing where like the doors of the pod open,
exactly,
smoke out, and he's like half naked, just kind of like
inextricably connected in my brain.
You are missing out, Dana. Missing out.
So nice.
Really not. There are a lot of men in the world. I don't have to dig Jeff Goldblum.
Bronze Jeff Goldblum. Oh my god.
Like goodness. Young. Well, not even young. He was like 37.
Yeah, he was in his 30s.
Like, but peak Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
so
definitely
good.
peak.
That like coal black hair. I mean, I love Salt and Pepper Jeff Goldblum now, but that like dark hair,
so fluffy. Like that's hair that has never seen product. That is just it's so fluffy.
You know, the other part of it, I cannot think of Jeff Goldblum any differently than I think of like Christopher Walken, in that he has just become a caricature of himself. So I kind of
now he is.
You know who's hot? Young Christopher Walken.
Young Christopher Walken, young like dancer Christopher Walken. Hell yeah,
he was cute. He was.
Oh,
I can admit that about Christopher Walken, but I can't do it with Jeff Goldblum. I just can't because of the Fly. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry that you have this mental block, Dana. It really upsets me.
No, because then you're just gonna picture them in the ship making out, and then suddenly he
turns into the Fly. And then
he Brundlefly vomits all over
the Fly.
Yeah.
Movie was fucked up. An 8-year-old kid should never have seen The Fly.
You shouldn't have seen it. I'm sorry.
This is what happens. It ruins adult you.
I'm sorry you were exposed to it before your young psyche was ready for it.
I remember watching that movie probably when I was a little too young as well. But the one that stuck out for me wasn't the shedding of the skin and like all that other kind of stuff. The thing that always got me was the arm wrestling scene when he snaps that guy's arm off. It's so just visceral.
Yeah.
All right. So we're now on.
Okay.
So the rule is you have to watch Earth Girls Are Easy first.
Yeah.
And then you can watch.
And then you watch The Fly.
Any other this is the gateway Goldblum right here.
Yeah. Gateway Goldblum. Yeah.
Also
definitely.
Weird gateway Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Gateway Jim Carrey. I'm never gonna
love
and Gateway Damon Wayans. All three.
Damon Wayans. Yeah, but Damon Wayans
always loved Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans was always
he
adorable.
stayed pretty hot until he gained like
so
belly.
gorgeous.
Basically, Damon Wayans was hot until Damon Wayans Jr. got old enough to be hot, and then Damon Wayans turned into Dad Damon Wayans, and Damon Wayans Jr. became a hot Damon Wayans.
You know what? We even watched Damon Wayans playing the Danny Glover role in the Lethal Weapon TV. Wow, so many parts removed. And he was still good looking.
Still good looking.
Like he played the older cop character.
Yes,
and he was still good looking.
He's Dad Damon Wayans now. And Damon Wayans.
Yeah, but Dad Damon Wayans is hot.
You know what? We're all at the age where the dad characters can be like kind of spicy. It's okay.
Yeah. No,
You
I
want a
always think of
spicy dad.
Damon Wayans as like when I think peak Damon Wayans, I think of Last Boy Scout, because that's like that perfect meld of like he's still pretty hot, but he's also still doing his comedy thing. And where this is just like he's just doing the physical stuff, you know, even though like I'm pretty positive like they switched out a lot of the dancing stuff, but like in some of that's him like doing like the weird hand moves and everything like that.
When he
that
like
dance scene,
flips,
oh my
he like
God.
flips over the bars to come down when they're like leaving the club. It was good.
Yeah, that whole dance sequence is pretty stunning. Like
great.
Everything is actually like pretty grounded, and it waits until that one like weird spin to bring out like the alien powers.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, at that point, I was just watching it, and he's just like, damn. And it was like, all right, now make out.
So, anybody else think that the guy he was battling against was right? He was stealing all of his moves.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
Anything original.
But
But that guy was
he
right.
started-
Pissed.
But he would steal the move and then he would change it.
Right. And now kiss.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I kind of like that they kind of became
Oh,
like
man.
friends after though. while
Yeah.
they were in the mid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? I didn't feel bad though, because that guy was just stealing his whole thing from Little Richard.
Yeah, I guess it's nice to know that some of my childhood things still hold up.
It was fun. I liked it. I think this is one where we all agreed we liked it.
I was glad that we got to watch this.
One in
I
every
don't-
15, 20. All of us like
Yeah.
the same movie.
I don't know if so
No, Bryce is like, no, I'm not gonna let her have this.
Can't
We
let-
can't have this.
I actually can't. Like I liked parts of it, but like I didn't like it's not a total plus in my call. Sorry.
This is as close
Like,
as
it was fine.
Right,
It's fine.
You're
Yeah,
allowed.
this is a close to
We're still looking
consensus.
for that one. We're
I
still
like
looking
the
for
eye
that
candy.
one.
The movie was like really long for 100 minutes.
We all liked Labyrinth.
We did. We all like Labyrinth.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That
So
was only
I guess it's like
a year and a half ago. So
yeah, so it's like once in every couple fortnights we'll get
It's
it. We'll get
good
it right.
to have differing opinions.
That's true.
Well,
We'll find it. We'll find that
we'll
one.
find it. Just the way that Jeff Goldblum.
But we can't watch the
Found-
movies we all like. Like we're not gonna sit down and watch
It's true.
Princess Bride.
Then we would it would be like the 2-minute podcast episode where we're like,
like
that's
that's
fun.
great.
That was
Thanks,
fun.
guys.
Although it's also
You
fun
remember
to
that part?
gush
I
about
love that
things
part.
sometimes.
You remember that part? I love that part.
if I can just settle this now, The Princess Bride holds up.
Yeah. Oh,
Princess
what was?
Bride definitely holds up.
Do you guys remember what was that? Chris Farley bit when he would do the Chris Farley shows. Like,
That was
do
awesome.
you remember?
Remember that movie?
Do you remember that movie? That
Remember
was
that
awesome.
time?
One
That
of my
was-
favorite bits in
Awesome.
I Love You Man is when Jason Segel is impersonating Andre the Giant and goes, "Anybody want a peanut?"
Still to this day, my very favorite SNL skit is Jason Segel doing Andre the Giant ordering ice cream. It is
No, too minty.
How did we,
if I just need like a
Okay.
little pick me up,
guys?
I just
we have-
play that.
Guys,
We've descended into
here
full
and
like
one
full
day.
Oh no,
sister,
you're right.
like-
You're right. You're
Sorry,
right.
sorry,
You're right.
sorry.
You're
started
right.
in
You're
my
right.
screen and now we're
done.
racist.
All right, I don't even
That'll
know
be
how
for
we're
our
gonna end
sister
it, but
podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
you know what? Find yourself a good hairless Jeff Goldblum.
Finish it with
Yeah.
Billy Brown.
Yeah. Duck Magnum, duck.
There you go.
Randall, you really know how to shake your chest. I'm very
Thank you.
impressed.
That weight gain's not for nothing.
That's how you end it, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.